Hey, Candace, we can't hear you if you're talking.
I mean, I hate.
Now
Why
I
am I?
can.
I was just talking along. I was having a wonderful time
Oh,
explaining this to everybody. Okay.
no, we didn't hear you. Hi,
Okay, let's start
Candace.
from the beginning.
Okay, hi. How are you doing?
I'm great. And I'm a hot mess. That's what I am. I'm a hot mess. So, Caroline, from now on, you are also in charge of making sure I have my audio on.
Okay, I'll do that.
Actually, everybody is in charge. I do have my water this time. I got my water, but I forgot to turn on the audio. So let's start this again. I know you all have been looking at the question. Private mortgage insurance, PMI, is typically required when. Oh, actually, hey, Rajiv, before we start this question again, Marili, you had a question. What is that question? Before I go on to 28 again, because bless my heart.
I'm gonna copy and paste on the Zoom. Is that okay? Or
That is fine. You can copy and paste in the Zoom. And Rajiv, possibly, I'm going to go over national stuff, but if you have a specific state question, then let me know and I don't mind answering it. As long as I know what state it is, well, I know you're North Carolina. But I know since I'm in North Carolina or I teach North Carolina, I don't mind going over a specific question for that or a topic for that. And
Sure.
thank you, Grace, and thank you for the confidence. Look, Caroline and company have been doing this long enough to know mistakes happen in my world, and it's okay. It just makes me human. All right, the question you put into the chat was you own a duplex, you own a duplex, and personally occupy one of the units you personally occupy. If he has one unit for rent and refuses to rent it to anyone with small children, has he committed a violation or any discriminatory act? And that is true, right? That is true because it's a duplex and they personally own one of the units or less. Okay, so I see what they're saying. Let me help you here and make this be clearer. And you're talking about fair housing. So, Rajiv, yes, this would definitely apply for you. Boop-a-doop-a-doo. Let me find my fair housing slide. Let's go with national origin because I know that'll be in that section. Doop. Okay, go away. So when you're talking about fair housing, we know that we have some exemptions. Sorry, guys, I just have to scroll to it. All right, there we go. So when we're talking about the federal fair housing law, we have exemptions. And the specific exemption you're talking about is the owner occupant of an apartment building with less than 5 units. Under federal law, oh, you didn't memorize the exemptions? Marili, I want you to take a screenshot. Everybody, if you're not somebody who had me as a teacher, make sure you take a screenshot of this page. The Fair Housing Act. This is on a federal level. Everybody for every state, we get these 5 exemptions. The one, like I was saying, you are dealing with is this owner occupant of an apartment building with less than 5 units. So if I, as an investor, have a quadplex, meaning I have 4 units, and I'm not living in one of those units, I cannot discriminate based off of any of our protected classes. And we know that's Fred's Corn: familial status, race, disability, sex, color, religion, national origin. However, if you, on a federal level, you fall into any of these categories, then yes, it would be acceptable for you to pick and choose how you, I don't want to say it's acceptable to discriminate, but you can make decisions in a way that would not be allowed. And then you get what I'm trying to say there. So,
then, oh,
well,
I'm
let me say
sorry. Go
this.
ahead.
So you see, these are the national ones. Now, I know my slides are for North Carolina, but notice in North Carolina, we don't exempt for sale by owners. And I'm using this as an example because every state has a state level Fair Housing Act. Now, in North Carolina, this is what's different for us. But in different states, there could be different, like they eliminate some of those exemptions. And that's what Google was trying to say. On a federal level, yes, this person could be, could decide, oh, I only want to have other women here, or only want to have people of a certain religion here. But they have to live in it, and it has to be less than 4 or less units. Then you have to look at your state qualifications and see if your state or even your local codes have made it so it's something you can't do. So if I was doing a problem for North Carolina, if it said Candace lives in is selling her personal residence, she owns less than 3 single family dwellings per year, and she doesn't do it more than once every 2 years, could she, for lack of a better word, discriminate against somebody? And the best answer would be Candace wouldn't be in trouble on a federal level. She would be in trouble on a state level. Kind of like marijuana, right? The official name for it. Kind of like marijuana. It may be legal in your state, but that doesn't mean it's legal for the federal level. Just flip that. So I know you had a question. Go ahead and ask it.
I did look into it, and but what I noticed I try to get the information says you cannot advertise that that you will not accept anyone with the small children. I think that's what I understood. It's exempt, but you cannot advertise that.
Exactly. So you see how on my slide it says like no agent involvement? This is true for any of these. You may have an exemption. So you may qualify to say, hey, because I am a religious organization, or because I'm part of a private club, you can't put into writing anything that's going to be discriminatory in that advertisement, even if you have the exemption. And it's one of the reasons why we say like no agent involvement. As an agent, obviously, if you hire an agent, you're usually trying to promote your property, which means they're advertising. So neither the individual or the agent can put anything discriminatory in that ad. Does that kind of make sense?
Yes, thank you.
And just remember, when you're doing advertisements and you're trying to make sure you're not getting in trouble for fair housing stuff, there are words. Let's see. I have a ton of slides. Where are my words? There are different places where you'll see, and you can look this up online, but there's certain words you want to avoid. Like you're going to make sure that you don't ever have an ad that says no children. It's suggested you don't say things like walking distance, right? No men or women. Like you want to be careful about what you say. Because again, whenever I teach fair housing, it's not about what you said or did, it's about what you said or did and how it made the other person feel. Hey, Trix, I see you over there in YouTube land. So hopefully that helps. Does anybody else have a question on fair housing as long as I'm talking about it?
Thank you.
Good. I would also remind you, I don't care what state you're in, when we're talking about questions, make sure you understand the difference between the Americans with Disabilities Act versus the Fair Housing Act when it comes to animals. Right? So we know with ADA, it's only service animals. And with FHA, it could be like an emotional support animal. And FHA animals only apply to housing. ADA, Americans with Disabilities, like somebody with a seeing eye dog, that animal, that service animal can go anywhere the person can. So, all right, let's get to our questions. And good job. I love it when you all bring questions. I do. Question number 2. Can I go over which again? Which part, Crystal? In my chat, I have, for those people that are on YouTube, she asked if I can go over something again. Oh, yes, I can. We have another request. We're going to be talking about termination. So let me get to this slide, and that way you all will know what I'm talking about. And even though I'm going to teach it from kind of a North Carolina point of view, I'm going to explain what you need to look up for your state. So okay, why? I need to type. Termination. That's probably going to come up a lot. What? Oh, that's because I'm in the wrong thing. Now let's try it. Termination. Termination. Let's see. All right. I don't care what state you're in. One of the things you need to understand is that we have contracts. We have contracts, and that's why we learn some basic contract law. You have agency contracts. You know, that's going to be between the broker and the client. You're going to have sales contracts, and that's going to be between the seller and the buyer. And you're going to have offers, which is usually going to go from buyer to seller. But remember, you could have counter offers or any of those things. Even though they are all contracts, they don't all terminate the same. There are differences between what will terminate an agency contract, what will terminate a sales contract, and what will terminate an offer. Now, generally, the biggest one that people struggle with is death of the client, right? Death. You've got a contract. It's either between the buyer and the client, or this could be the seller. Okay, that says broker now, doesn't it? It could be between the broker where's my tongue? The broker and the buyer and seller. So it doesn't matter if it's the buyer or if it's the seller. If the client dies, you're done. As an agent, you cannot represent a dead person. Can't happen. That person dies. If you're my agent and I die, we're done. You can't represent me anymore. So, death of the client. However, don't get the question wrong or get it confused. If the agent dies, if the salesperson or provisional broker dies, that would not terminate an agency contract, because the client did not hire you as an individual agent. They did not hire you as the salesperson or the provisional broker. They hired the firm. So if you are my agent, you're the person I've been talking to, and God forbid you die, I'm still going to be under contract with your broker. I can't just be like, oh, well, now she's gone, I guess I'll go to another company. I didn't hire the individual agent. I hired the firm, the broker, the company. So now, if the firm or the broker were to lose their license, if the company was no longer allowed to legally do business, well, then that would be like the company died. And yes, that would terminate the contract. There can't be a non-functioning entity that's representing a buyer or seller. That's not gonna help. And if it's a listing, we know if the property is destroyed, that would terminate an agency contract. Now I'm going to parlay that to, notice destruction of the property is not here under sales contract. What? It's not there, because when we say destruction of the property, you still might be forced as the seller to sell the land. There have been times where the house gets destroyed and you're buying it for the land anyway. Maybe it's at the beach and it's an old property and the real value is where the land is located. You are going to tear it down anyway. Just because that old piece of crap house got destroyed in a hurricane does not mean that, oh, this seller doesn't have to sell it anymore. You need to call an attorney in that point. Destruction does not always automatically terminate any type of a purchase contract. Depending on the state, depending on the contract, you need to see what it says. So that's what I mean when I say there's different types of contracts, but they don't terminate the same. As far as the sales contract is concerned, notice It doesn't matter if it's the buyer or the seller. Death is not terminating this contract. Death does not terminate the contract. Now, again, if we're talking about specific to your state contracts, double and triple check to see what your contract says. But in general, the buyer and or the seller has made a promise to sell that property. And just because you die doesn't mean your estate doesn't have to follow through with that promise. And I think I said to you yesterday, and Crystal, Crystal, yesterday, giving Oprah as an example. If Oprah were to get your house, was it Tanisha? Either way, if Oprah was to get your house under contract and she was going to pay you $50 million. No offense to Stedman, but you don't care if Oprah dies. You still want your 50 million and her estate now that she's gone. And I mean estate as in what she has after she passes away, not just land interest. Her estate has that 50 million to pay you. You want it. She made a promise to pay, and you're going to want that $50 million still, even if she's gone. You'll cry at the funeral, but oh well. Her death did not terminate her estate's responsibility to continue that sale. And then over here, we have the offer. Because we know offers usually go from the buyer to the seller. That buyer says, hey, seller, I'm interested in buying this for X, Y, Z. Right? And then the seller says, okay, maybe yes, maybe no, maybe, not ever. Either way, when a buyer turns in an offer, if that buyer dies before, so in this case, the buyer is the offeror. If the offeror dies before they can hear that their offer's been accepted, no. Because remember, in real estate, in order to get under contract, you have to have signatures of all parties, and you need notification that that last party has signed. So if the buyer dies before anybody can tell the buyer or their agent, hey, the seller signed your offer, then the offer died when the buyer died. You can't get a dead person under contract. You had to tell them while they were still alive. Now, counteroffer, by definition, we know is a permanent rejection of an offer. So that original offer is now dead. The seller can't be like, oh, just kidding. I'll go with what you first offered. Nope. You said no the first time. We're done. If a seller rejects the offer, then it's just done. The rejection is a part of a counteroffer. Remember, a counteroffer is rejection plus another offer. Either way, if it's just a rejection, like if somebody comes to you and says, hey, I see your house is on the market for $1 million. Would you take 300,000? An offer like that, the seller may not even want to respond. They may be like, no. That's it. Just no. That's the whole sentence. A counteroffer would be no. How about $700,000? So in both of those cases, you have terminated the original offer. And this response to buyers form, that's for people in North Carolina, we're not talking about that now. If a buyer so chooses, there could be an expiration in an offer. And when that expiration date hits, well, your offer is dead. Or the offeror, and again, I keep saying buyer because that's normally what's going to happen, but it could be a counteroffer. And when the market's backwards, when it's a buyer's market, the seller could be giving an offer to the buyer. Hey, you want to buy my house? But if the offeror decides to change their mind and revoke the offer before they've been notified their offer's been accepted, they have every right to. And this you would see happening usually when a buyer's like, oh, I want to buy your house, seller. And then while they're waiting to hear back from the seller, they go on Zillow or something. And this does happen in real life and it's real annoying. You're waiting to hear back from the seller and here comes your buyer. I was on Zillow last night and I saw this other house and I think I want that one instead. Can you call them and cancel our offer and tell them we take it back? Yeah, I sure can. As long as they haven't told me already that they've accepted your offer. So this is, and of course, this is a North Carolina thing. So don't worry about that. But Crystal, did that help?
Yes, thank you.
Yay. Any other questions? I love, like, don't get me wrong, guys. I love going over questions, but I love it even more when you all give me questions. And you all love it when I remember to turn on my audio. Mm. All right. You're loving the review. Hey, Kamani. Hey, yay. I do like a review. That's why I think I want to call this, like, instead of office hours, maybe I want to call this a workshop. So that way, if you all want to ask me questions or go over questions or do the fill in the blank or do math or just say, hey, could you teach this topic? We're workshopping it. That's it. Do I have a video that covers North Carolina exam only? I do. I have one on my YouTube page that is free, and then I have a longer one that is paid. Just shoot me an email, Rajiv, and of course I'll give you a discount if you want the paid one, but I'll give you links to both of those videos if you're interested. All right, question time. It's like picture pages, picture pages, picture pages. Open up your picture pages. Them to get okay, let me stop singing Bill Cosby songs, which that's kind of creepy now that, okay, let it go, Candace. Number 28, private mortgage insurance, PMI, is typically required when? We know private mortgage insurance is an insurance policy for the lender. It's an insurance policy for a lender. Oh, Marily, I just saw that. We'll do this one and then we'll answer that question. So when do we need PMI? Well, I was saying without volume, I mean, I was just going to town, that it has nothing to do with whether or not somebody has good credit. I mean, if you have good credit, that has nothing to do with whether or not you are going to have to pay PMI. C, a property is an investment property. No, that's not what PMI is about. We've gotten it down to 2, and this is a tricky question because both of these do require mortgage insurance. The key here is that FHA actually requires MIP, which stands for Mortgage Insurance Premium. If you see private mortgage insurance, you know that's a conventional mortgage, and that's when it's going to be PMI. Making our answer, drum roll please, and I see y'all with the right answer in there. Boop. Our answer is B. If your loan to value ratio exceeds 80%. And remember, if you are paying PMI on a conventional loan, yeah, oh, B, I see the B. I'm bringing home a baby, bumblebee. Won't my mama be so proud of me? Thanks, Caroline. I love the B. But if you are paying PMI and you get to the point where you have at least 20% equity, whether it's because you paid down the loan or because the house appreciates for more, once you get to the point that you have 20% equity, you can ask the bank to stop this. Like, I don't want to pay this PMI anymore. And even if you don't realize that you have 20% equity or more, at 78%, once you have like once you have 22% equity, the bank only has a 78% stake in your property. The bank must remove it. For conventional loans, it's a good test question. Conventional loans, they have to remove it at least 78%. But if you get an FHA loan, you're going to be paying MIP for life. It does not go away. I guess it's kind of like the herpes. Wait, does herpes end? I don't know. And also, why did I call PMI herpes? I don't even know why y'all let me talk to you about sometimes. Herpes is forever, right? I don't know. So, LOL. Yes, Caroline, you knew I was crazy when I started this. So from now on and here forth, we're going to consider PMI, or I should say, we're going to consider MIP the herpes of FHA loans. It never goes away. So you will always remember that. Great. You know, that's what I try to do. All right, number 29. I'm a mess. A property's market value is $300,000 and the assessment ratio is 80%. The tax rate is $2.50 per 100 of assessed value. What is the property annual tax? All right, let's do it. So if the market value is 300,000, if that's the market value, we know we don't pay taxes on market value. We pay it off of like an assessed value. And in this problem, they're telling us you're not going to pay taxes off of a value of 300,000. You're going to do it off of a value of 80% of that. So I'm going to do that 300,000 times 80%. Let's get our handy dandy calculator out. 300,000 times 80%. That gives me $240,000. That's now our assessed value. And it says our tax rate is $2.50 per 100 of assessed value. So if you had to imagine how many $100 bills it would take to make $240,000, that's the number of times you have to pay $2.50. So to figure out how many 100s there are in 240, I'm going to take 240,000. I'm going to divide it by 100. And that's going to give me boop, 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 2,400 100s. That means for every $100 bill, I would owe $2.50. So I'm going to do $2.50 times 2,400. And that's going to give me $6,000. And I just remembered you had another question. Making A our final answer. All right, Merle, I'm sorry. I forgot you said that you had another question. Go for it, my love. You put too many zeros. No worries, Caroline.
It pays because it's too long. Sorry.
You're going to paste it? That's fine. That is fine. While you're pasting it, okay, there you go. If a seller hires a salesperson to sell his property and during the salesperson's absence, can the seller show his house and provide quotes and accept deposits? The seller, so to me, really, I know this is a strange question. Where did you get this question from?
It's a random question that I've been searching.
Okay.
It's for California, but.
Okay, well, so here's my thing though. I do know that in California, it is not illegal to have a for sale by owner.
Exactly. This is why it threw me off.
So when it says provide quotes and accept deposits, this is where I have a problem. Can the seller show his house? Yes. And depending on whether we have an exclusive right to sell or an exclusive agency, if it's an exclusive right to sell, you know that seller is going to own a commission regardless of whether the agent helps. If it's an exclusive agency, then the seller, may not have to pay a commission. So that first part, show his house, that should be fine. Provide quotes. What are we quoting? I mean, I don't think that seller should be quoting what a loan could be for or insurance. So I don't know what the question is going for. Provide quotes. And as far as accepting deposits, escrow deposits or earnest monies are often held in trust. So I don't think they should be taken by the seller either. Right. So if we go with just the deposits part, I can definitely see where it's illegal. It could lead to legal consequences. I don't think that's a really great,
Yeah,
great
I
thing.
think it's not a bad question because it doesn't specify.
Yeah, it doesn't. And Caroline, you said quote the price. Yeah, if they want to quote the price, knock yourself out. I don't think that'd be a problem. But if you're trying to quote, take those deposits. So. But it's a good question, and even bad questions can lead to good conversation. So I'm glad you asked. Glad you asked. All right, number 30. Ooh. Which of the following is not required for a deed? Remember, we got this big fat not word here. Which of the following is not required for a valid deed, which means 3 of these are required and 1 is not required. So we got A, a competent grantor, B, an identifiable, what is wrong with my tongue today? Identifiable grantee, C, recording, or D, delivery and acceptance. Ah, Grayson said, you don't have to record, but you should. She gave me a C. Marily gave me a C. All right, we got C's, C's, C's. And you all know what C stands for, right? Can anybody tell me what C stands for? Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think today that C is going to stand for... All right, but I see you all put the other one in there. Oh, wait, you know what? I don't think I shared my sound. Let's do that again. Now let's try it.
C is for cookie. That's good enough for me.
And I see you all wanted the carrot song.
I like carrots, and you should too. It goes crunch, 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 and it's good for you.
We like carrots,
and you should too. It goes
crunch, crunch, crunch. Oh my goodness. I love it. And yes, our answer most definitely is C. As Grayson said, recording is helpful, but it's not required. If you want the protection, it has to be. Anita, you like the crunch, crunch song? I like the crunch, crunch song too. All right, moving on. Ooh, Fair Housing Act. I see it. See if you all get this right since we just talked about it. The Fair Housing Act exemption for owner-occupied buildings with 4 or fewer units is commonly known as the private club exemption, Mrs. Murphy exemption, religious organization exemption, or senior housing exemption. Yeah, this is a good question. I know it because I'm in real estate, but does anybody, I mean, you should be able to eliminate the answer choice here. But which one is it? Private club exemption, the Mrs. Murphy exemption, the religious organization exemption, or the senior housing exemption? All right, we got B, we got 2 B's. Bees in the trap, bees in the trap, bees in the trap, bees in the trap. Okay, we got B's, we got B's, we got B's. It looks like it B's the answer. It looks like it B's the answer, the Mrs. Murphy exemption. I can honestly say this is probably the first time in all my years of, doing questions that I've seen this as a practice question. Maybe I've seen it like one other time or two, like just in the back of my head, but it is something you should know. Like I knew that was the answer just because, but yeah, it's called the Mrs. Murphy exemption. And I think there's a story about why it's called that, but we don't care. Also, because we are learning how to eliminate answers, you knew that had to be the answer. 32. A licensee who represents both the buyer and the seller in the same transaction with informed consent of both parties is acting as a. Is it A, a subagent, B, a dual agent, C, a transaction broker, or D, a designated agent? All right. What do we have? We got more B's. Bees in the trap. Bees in the trap. You know what? I'm going to so get in trouble for this because, do I even have it anymore? I couldn't do it when I was doing prep agent stuff, but I had a bee song. And let's see if I can find it. Oh, I'll take the hit. I don't see it. I must have taken it off. So you know what? Just in honor of the bee song that I can't find, I'm just going to do this.
I don't really want to do the work today. I don't really want to do the work today. I don't really want to do the work today. I don't want to do the work today.
Because it's Wednesday, and our answer is B, dual agent. Everybody got that right. And remember, it's not legal in every state, but it is. It is legal. Can't believe I lost my bee song. That's just so sad. I'll have to put it. Oh, wait, there it is. There it is. Oh, that's from a it is a clip from a play from some, like a song in some place somewhere. I cannot think of which one it is, but I will figure it out again. Here's the B song from my Gen X childhood. Here you all go.
B stands for Bronco, BMW bass, bangles, and a pair of bars. When you see us pulling up down the aisle, you'll act like we are stars.
All right, that's enough of that B. If you put it in, Crystal, if you just say, I don't really want to do the work today, it will come up. All right, number 33, because we got to have a little fun with all this real estate stuff. Functional obsolescence in a property refers to A, physical deterioration requiring repair, B, outdated design or features that reduce value, C, external factors affecting value negatively, and D, normal wear and tear over time. All right, we got B, we got B, we got what was going on with Claude? He gave us all these B's. We know our answer, once again, because you all are geniuses, let's go with purple, is B, outdated design or features that reduce value. Oh, we have one more B song. We got one more B song, y'all. Are we ready? Oh, we got two. Okay, we'll play this one.
Don't be suspicious, don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious, don't be suspicious.
Ah, we got the buzz. We do have Buzzy the Bee, but don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious. All right. Y'all know I got no good sense. Okay. Oh, you know what else starts with B? I feel like a little kid.
Bueller.
Also B. All right. Hopefully this next answer is not B. Okay. A promissory note is best described as A, the security instrument that pledges the property as collateral, B, evidence of the debt and promise to repay, C, the document that transfers title to the lender, or D, a guarantee from a third party. I know, guys, what? It's like, it's, now I will say, you all seem to know the answer is B. So the first thing I'm going to say is, this could happen on the exam, where you could have a whole bunch in the row that are the same answer. It is completely random. Hey, Maribel, it is completely random. And you don't have to freak out if it happens. Now, if you get down the whole page and everything, like you're like, oh, I'm just going to guess B all the way down, that's not going to work. But it does happen in just standardized testing sometimes. Don't freak out. Right? Now, as a harder step, I mean, we know that a promissory note is evidence of the debt and a promise to repay. The security instrument that pledges the property as collateral, that's going to be either the mortgage or the deed of trust. And really, the deed of trust, that's this. It holds it up as collateral. It's transferring title to the lender because you're using it as collateral. So there you go. A guarantee from a third party, that would make me think of like, what do you call it? Like Dog the Bounty Hunter. He is a, you go to jail and this person puts the money up for you. Oh, come on, y'all. What's that called? What do you call it when you go to jail? Bondsman. Thank you. Thank you very much. This makes me think of a bondsman. Bondsperson. Let's go with that. All right. 35. I mean, I do have another B song, but I'm going to wait. What? Oh, y'all reading too fast. Okay. Which of the following would be considered an encroachment? I mean, we're just going for B, okay? A recorded easement for utility access, a neighbor's fence built 2 feet onto the subject property, a deed restriction limiting property use, or an unpaid property tax lien. Yeah, y'all knew that was B. You knew it was B. Is this whole page B? Nope. Okay. One of these is not. So, a neighbor's fence built 2 feet into subject property. Very good. And that wasn't stressing y'all out too much. You're not. Now, this next one is B. It's time for our next B song. Under lien theory, the borrower, A, transfers legal title to the lender until the loan is paid. B, retains both legal and equitable title during the loan term. C, grants the lender a security interest without transferring title. Or D, must obtain court approval before selling the property. Okay, Grayson says C. Crystal says D. Now, for Grayson and Crystal, we have not gone over this in class yet, but the answer is, okay, Rosalinda says A. Okay, Caroline says A. And actually, our answer is, believe it or not, B. It is B. Now, because you got the answer wrong, we just have to have a little bit of fun with my favorite song that you all know. If you're in my classes, you know that's been in my head.
A 1 and a 2 and a... First you stick a rag, put it in the bag, bump, bump. Then you bend your back, put it in the sack, bump, bump.
Okay, that's enough of that. You had to bump it. I love it. Okay, and you're welcome. Now that song is in your head. So, I think we need to break this down because a lot of people did not get that right. Oh, we have a lot of stuff on this one. All right, let's go here. We're talking about mortgages, and you need to know this, right? This is going to be on every test. And it's time for me to draw. Yay. Let's go with brown. So we have a seller. Okay, I don't know why the seller's hands look like that. Might as well give him silly feet too. So this is the seller. The seller is going to give title, which we know is ownership, to a buyer. That is the basic idea of somebody selling a house. The seller owns it, and they're going to transfer title to the buyer. However, they don't do this for free. They don't do this for free. What's going to happen is the buyer is going to give money to the seller. And in exchange, the seller is giving that title via usually going to be a warranty or general warranty deed. Same thing. So that's the basics. I mean, anytime a seller has a property and the seller wants to give it to the buyer pays money, the seller is giving that buyer a general warranty deed. But more than likely, that buyer did not have the money to buy the house outright. So what we're going to do is that buyer needs money from the bank. They need money to go from the bank to them so that they have this money to give to the seller. Now, the bank does not just give you this money for free. The buyer is going to have to give the bank a promissory note. And we know a promissory note is basically an IOU. I don't like this one. Let's see. Do-do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do-do, boop, boop. Do-do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do-do, boop, boop. Let's try this. Maybe that'll be better. An IOU. An IOU. That's better. The promissory note is a thing that says, hey, if you give me money, I promise to pay you back at this percent in 30 years or whatever it's going to be. So the promissory note is the IOU. But you know what? A promissory note is just a signature. The second thing that happens is the buyer has to give the bank a collateral document. This is where the buyer says, hey, if I don't pay you back, you can sell this house. I'm using the house as collateral. Now, it turns out you get two options. In option one, which is going to be let's put it in green. In a lien theory state, the bank is giving, they're giving the bank, or the buyer is giving the bank a lien on their property, or they're giving the bank the opportunity, and I should probably put it that way. Yeah, I'll do it this way. If it's a lien theory state, they use a mortgage. A mortgage is, I mean, this is the same thing, y'all. The collateral document is the mortgage. It says, dear bank, if I don't pay you back, you can sell my house. And you can tell the world that by putting this lien on my property. Remember when you all learned about general liens and specific liens, and you learned that a mortgage lien is a lien against a specific property? Ding, 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 ding. It's a lien, because we know a lien is a charge against a person or a property, specific lien against a specific property, and this property is being used as collateral for the loan. You pay back the loan buyer, then you don't have to get your house taken. If you don't pay it back, now the bank can use a foreclosure sale to sell your home to get the money. That's the first option. The other option would be, if it is a title theory state, this is when you use a deed of trust. And a deed of trust, first and foremost, is a deed. Okay, that looks like dead. So let's fix that. I'm going to need you not to be dead with the deed. Make that a little bigger. Boop. Oh, no. Well, it's as big as we get. Okay. It is a deed of trust. It transfers title. So what happens is, in a title theory state, ownership literally goes from this general warranty deed to the buyer, and then from the buyer to the bank. We're basically saying it's like a car. When you have a car payment, you know that's not your car. Your car belongs to the bank, right? Same thing with houses. In a title theory state, buyer, it's not your house. It is the bank's house. But to add on, we also know that, change colors here, there's no trust here. So we're going to have a little wall of protection. And this is going to be a trust. And that trust is going to have a trustee. Because we don't trust banks, and we're talking about moving ownership, this deed of trust actually gives legal title to the trust that would then benefit the bank if they had to sell. We don't trust banks. Banks will take us for everything they mean. Everything we have, right? So Marilla, you said, so when they say lien theory state, they mean a mortgage. Yes. If it is a lien theory state, they are actually physically using a mortgage. If it is a title theory state, we are actually physically using a deed of trust, although we call it a mortgage. Just like with a Xerox machine or a Kleenex. I could have a box. Wait, what is it? Yeah, okay. So I have a box of tissues on my my desk. If you were sitting here next to me and I said, hey, will you hand me that Kleenex? You would hand me the tissue, even though this box says Puffs with lotion, because you know, plus lotion, this is the greatest. We call it a Kleenex, even though it is actually a Puffs. We call it a mortgage, even though in some states it's actually a deed of trust. That makes sense, especially for Grayson and Crystal. Did that make sense to you? We'll go into detail in class, but does everybody have an okay understanding of that? Because you really need to. Yay! Then you're going to be ahead of the curve when it's time for us to do this in class. Yay! All right. We're good? I think we're good. Yeah. So now when we go back to this question, one last thing. I said that this trust is getting legal title. That is, the deed is now in that trust name. What the buyer gets is called equitable title. And that means you get to claim title later. There you go. And we're going to need that. So good workshop. And also, guys, you know, I call this sketch noting. It's a great way to study. If you can draw this out, much prettier than me. But if you could say, if somebody said to you, or maybe later on tonight or tomorrow, you said, okay, can I draw out what happens if it's a mortgage or a deed of trust? If you can draw this without looking, then I know you know it. And it's better than trying to like just do a flashcard or just kind of talk it up. Try drawing it. And then you too can feel, you know, inadequate because your drawings are terrible. Like, what is going on with this guy? I don't even know. So now when we look at question 36, under lien theory, the borrower, well, they don't transfer legal title to the lender until the loan is paid. Nope, that would be a deed of trust. And that would be a title theory state. Okay. We said the answer is B. And the lien theory, yes, that buyer retained actual ownership and equitable title because they didn't give it to anybody else. I mean, it's their right to claim it whenever because they own it during the term of the loan term. C, grants the lender a security interest without transferring title. Okay, well, you know what? I wonder if they wanted us to do C, because you don't really have equitable title. If you didn't give it to somebody else, there's nothing to claim. And so I kind of do like C. I'm going to change my mind. Maybe I want to go C. Is C the better answer? I think it is. Now that I look it over, and this is why we do this, retains both legal title and equitable title during the loan term. But you wouldn't have equitable title if you didn't give it to somebody. So I kind of feel like C is a better answer. I'm going to change my answer to C. All right. And then D, must obtain court approval before selling the property. That is not true. Well, no, because they put the clause in it. So, I'm not sure. Well, yeah, you do. You have to go through court, and that's why it's faster. You do have to get a court approval before selling the property. Okay, guys, I'm looking at this and I'm like, now that I look at the details, I don't know how I feel about this. I kind of like all three of these. Let's see. This is where Candace is going to guess. And then we'll check with this is what happens when you have AI. This is only the second one I've been like, meh. Retains both legal and equitable title during the term. I'm going to eliminate B because of this equitable title thing. I feel like the AI is saying, well, you just have legal title. Equitable title is only if you gave it to somebody else. So I think they're going to eliminate B. Grants the lender a security interest without transferring the property. Well, the who, sometimes I like to go who, what, when, why, or look at every verb. They are granting the lender a security interest. and they are not transferring title. Okay. And then must obtain court approval before selling the property. There is the time where you could do a power of sale, but I don't know if it's C or D. It's a hard one. You think D because of the court approval? Yeah, I'm leaning more towards D as well. Because that's the whole point. The whole point of being a title theory state is they don't need the court's permission. They don't need to do anything to go sell the property. Because in a deed of trust state, the house belongs to the bank. Like when you get your car repossessed, they don't have to ask permission because it's their car. The bank doesn't have to ask permission to foreclose because it's their house. And the whole point to being lien theory is that no, because it's just a lien, you have to go through the courts. But the lien theory, you are giving the buyer, the lender, a security interest without transferring title. I'm going to have to go with D. I'm going to change my answer to D. Final answer. Now, on the real exam, if I have this question, I'd be pissed. Second, on the real exam, I probably wouldn't give this much time to this question. On the real exam, I would note this question. I'd be like, we're going to need to come back to this. I would put this and mark it under come back to me. That's exactly what I would do. I would be like, oh, wait a minute, Candace, what's going on? All right. So let's see what Claude had intended. Okay, Claude, I didn't like that question. All right, we are number 36. It is confusing, right? And again, it was free. It is worth what we paid for it. So, but I don't mind the breakdown. 36. Okay. They said that C grants the lender a security interest without transferring the title. Okay, I understand why they would say that. The lender holds only a lien, the security interest, until the debt is paid. Then it says, and now I do like this about Claude. I asked Claude to tell me why every other answer is wrong. And they said court approval isn't required for selling in lien theory states. I'm gonna have to look that one up. I don't feel like that's the right. I mean, now again, we know AI doesn't always give us the right answers. So I am definitely going to look up number 36, and maybe this is one of those, even though it's AI, maybe there's some weird legal thing that we don't know about and that we don't teach in real estate school. I want to see where Claude came up with this, or there you go. Typically requires intervention. Yeah, typically. So what's that mean? Right, let's see. Okay, wait, this is what under lien theory, the borrower retains because the property they do not need. No, because the borrower owns. Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh, Grayson, did you get it? Did you all see how I messed that up? Oh my goodness. Does everybody see what just happened there? Do you see where I messed up? Anybody? Everybody. So they're saying the borrower must obtain court approval before selling the property. And I assumed, or I misread it to say the lender must get court approval. That's on me, y'all. That's what happens when I miss a word. Oh, see? Thank you, Grayson. Candace is human. Of course I'm human. I'm a perfectly flawed human. And you know what? If I had this on the test, I would have gotten that one wrong because I read it too fast. So this is a great question. This one gets a star from me. There are very few times a question just really gets me, and they got me that one. In fact, I'm going to feed this type of question to ChatGPT and Claude and say, this is a great example of an extra hard question. Right? This, you know what? I might have to add this to my midterm. For people in my class, I might have to add this to the practice final. I like that question. Candace was wrong. All right, let's end this. I'm not going to go yet. Let's do one more answer so I can be right. Ooh, that's good. I just didn't catch it. That was me making an assumption. And you know what they say when you make assumptions. All right. Now, guess what? We won't make that mistake again. I won't make that mistake again. You won't make that mistake again. And if my making a mistake means you get another test question correct, boom, I'm here for it. Also, let me not make that when I take my Michigan exam. All right, 37. Sorry, Claude, I owe you an apology. You did what you were supposed to do. That was on me, Claude. I'll take one for the team. I'll take that one. I don't have to take for the team. That was me. I was wrong. All right, question 37. Which appraisal approach would be most appropriate for valuing an income-producing apartment building? Which appraisal approach will be most appropriate for valuing an income-producing apartment building? Is it A, the cost approach, B, the sales comparison approach, C, the income approach, or D, the replacement cost approach? All right, and look at y'all. Even I know this one. So today maybe I could math, but I couldn't read questions right. It is the income approach. We know the cost approach is for when you have like a unique property that doesn't have any type of similar properties or comps. The sales comparison approach is when you do have comparable or comparable properties. This is your most common one. And your replacement cost approach. Well, this replacement cost stuff, not the approach, but it's a step. It's part of the steps of, oh, no, that's not right. It's part of the steps to cost approach. These two are related. So, all right. Well, there you go, guys. This is how I work through questions. You see it in real life. And this is why, guys, I tell you, you're not looking for perfection. I don't expect that I'm going to get 100% on my Michigan exam because I'm going to make silly mistakes like I just did. I read the questions wrong. I'm like, oh, look, all you can do is your best. And as long as you get the other ones right, it doesn't matter if you get one or two wrong. And also, Claude, you embarrassed me, Claude. I guess I embarrassed myself. That's that. And that's the last one on the page. So we will pick this up on Sunday. Remember, Sunday, Sunday, Sunday. Nothing on Friday because I just don't get as many people. But Sunday, and you know it's going to be Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern. And I challenge you to bring a friend. I like it when we have lots of people. And again, if you're on Zoom and you want to join the Zoom room, if you're on YouTube and you want to join the Zoom room, email me, CandaceEllis@gmail.com. And on Sunday, I will try to remember to turn on my microphone and I will try to read the questions right. Boom. All right, guys. I will see you next time. Bye, everybody. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thank you so much.
Candace.